Welcome in everybody back to the YouTube channel DFS Diary. I'm your buddy Choppadong. I am coming at you with an NBA version this week. We're going to come back later and do a separate video for Week 16's box checkers when the research station is up and running and fully locked and loaded with numbers. But we do have NBA stuff up today for Wednesday, December 19th slate. So let's jump right in and let's start talking a little bit about the slate. Now, I'm not going to be focused on the bigger slate. I'm doing something a little bit differently right now. I've had a few busy days behind the scenes with DFSArmy.com. If you don't know, I'm a contributor and a coach there, also content editor, and it's been a very, very busy time of year for us, so I haven't been able to get out here and do as many videos as I would like to do. So, I'm out here today. I'm going to try and talk. We got a 2-game NHL slate. We're going to largely ignore for formal content. We're talking a lot in our coaching forums about that particular slate, maybe a little bit of goofy contrarian things, game theory things that we can talk about. That's the advice our VIPs get. If you like that type of content, DFSArmy.com, down there in the bottom of the comment section, click it, become a member, use coupon code CHOP, C-H-O-P, 10% off discount. Click the like and subscribe button. You want to keep this content flowing out to you. I really love doing it, and I like the fact that I'm getting positive feedback, so keep that stuff coming. But what we're going to focus on right now is the NBA slate tonight. And again, I'm not really getting into the Big 12 game stuff. We've got content coming out. We've got 4 coaches tonight inside DFS Army. We've got a ton of talk that's already going to be focused on that. My little experiment that I'm doing is really spreading out. I'm cross-checking our numbers against some other sites, and I'm also using a consensus or a weighted type of average because I believe that some sites are a little bit aggressive in some areas and some are a little bit conservative in others, and I'm wanting to blend that out and then spread my lineups out and see if I don't find a little bit more consistent trend that I can then take back, report to the Army, and make our stuff better. In the meantime, you get to watch that unfold, whether you like it or you don't. That's up to you and the feedback. But you get to watch a little bit of that unfold from a DFS Army perspective, and then we'll see how we don't process out this slate. What I'm looking for is the and one rating, of course, but what I'm going to try and do today is go position by position by position, go top 5 projected raw points, and then top 5 value. And that's going to become my list for the DFS Army side of things. So if I take the point guards, I'm already sorted by projections. The top 5 point guards on this smaller 4-game slate tonight that we're looking at, this is the one, it's easier to process. When I have to do all of this manually, I can't hit a 12-game slate and do diligence to the slate. So I'm picking the 4-game express slate tonight, or maybe it's called the late night or after hours, whatever. Chris Paul, John Wall, Eric Bledsoe, Chris Dunn, Derrick Rose. These are going to be my guys. I'm going to double check this and one. I'm going to make sure. I might have to look into Chris Dunn a little bit. Got a poor matchup indicated by this metric. Derrick Rose is looking okay. So that's going to depend, of course, on Jeff Teague. Dinwiddie might make the list. We'll see if he hits. He'll probably hit the value list, just looking over here. So that's your top 5 point guards in raw points. When I go to shooting guards, Harden, Holiday, Beal, Middleton, and D'Angelo Russell. Okay, now you can look a little further at DVP. You can look a little further down the road at other, 3-game, 10-game minute averages, things like that. And you can look at when you get access to this sheet as a VIP, you can dig through all of those numbers yourself. I'm just focused on very, very minimal research, very, very basic research that points you in the right direction tonight towards who should be the better plays. Giannis, Robert Covington, Trevor Ariza, Jeff Green, Joe Harris. Those are your top 5 raw projected points, all over 20 points. After that, drops off pretty quickly. Might be a thin spot tonight. Might have to pay up for Giannis in a spot like this tonight on this particular slate. That's another little tip for you. When you're looking at comparing slates, say you want to run a lineup out there on a main slate, and then you want to run a lineup out there on a smaller slate. That's one way to get you off of you're being completely married to a certain core group of players on that main slate. If you made 2 lineups or 3 lineups, you may have a very, very tight core, and if that core duds out on you, your whole night is wrecked. Whereas if you shift over to one of the smaller slates, it forces different players, due to limited options, all of a sudden, maybe Anthony Davis is the #1 play across the league on the main slate. Maybe on a bad example right now, but let's say that Giannis is on a different slate, and then you go to, and all of a sudden he becomes #1. Now you've got a lineup with Anthony Davis out there, and you've got a lineup with Giannis out there. You've built around 2 guys that you probably can't use together, obviously, and you're going to end up diversified across the different slates. One core does kind of has a dud night, then the other core maybe repairs that damage and turns a slightly losing night into a slightly winning night, or turns a big losing night into just a slight losing night. That helps keep your bankroll intact, which helps keep you around longer to hit the big cheese. Power forward, looking at Anthony Davis, Blake Griffin, Wendell Carter, Mark Cannon again, and Rondé Hollis Jefferson. Again, those are your top guys. But look, we've got more depth at the position here in just raw projection points. So this might be one where you're paying down somewhat. Wendell Carter, Jefferson, Bobby Portis, they may be important to you. Maybe you go all the way up with an Anthony Davis. If that's the case, and I'm just guessing here on the very first look this morning for me, it sounds like Blake Griffin might be kind of the odd man out. He might be caught in salary purgatory, if you will, because people might be either looking to pay quite a ways down, Mark Cannon, Jefferson, whatever, or up to Anthony Davis, or take the high-low approach, go Portis and Davis, something like that, and then that's going to just keep leaving Blake Griffin in purgatory or in that wasteland where he's going to be under-owned and might be a decent GPP pivot for you guys for a little bit of a leverage play. Now, Griffin, to me, typically has a nice cash floor, doesn't typically really test upside. Earlier in the year, he did do a couple of games, though, where he did test his ceiling, and that was good to find if you were on him that early in the year. Center spot, Karl Anthony Towns, Andre Drummond, Clint Capella, freaking Jay Leno, light spot of hair guy, little goofy fashion statement in my opinion, but I wouldn't say that to his face, so I'll just move along. Jarrett Allen, Brooke Lopez, that just feels a little soft at the center spot tonight. You can see up here there's a couple of decent point totals in the 40s, a high 40 in Capella, and then down here it drops off pretty quick, 26, 22, and then bam, down to 14. So again, a relatively shallow position. You're probably going to be settling on one or two guys. So if you took those top 3 to 5 guys and put them in your player pool, and then we'll come back to see the values a little bit lower on these other guys, you're going to be up in here for sure. Looking at price-wise, who might be your pivot, you might correlate somewhere. You might even come off of a pivot if you take some kind of an optimizer and it throws in one guy like Karl Anthony Towns repeatedly, then Drummond and Capella become your pivots. If I go back to the point guard, actually let me turn it off so I don't have to keep doing this. And then I'm going to sort by value. Sort by descending order, bring all the big value up to the top. See, this is the one that concerns me, and this is why I'm starting this experiment. I'm seeing Wendell Carter and Check Diallo at over 6x projected. That feels a little bit aggressive to me. That's why I want to go around the industry a little bit and cross-check that. I'm not putting my blind faith in any one source. I'm loyal to the DFS Army. Again, become a VIP, come inside, talk coaching. I'm as transparent as they come. I will tell you where else I go. I will tell you, in fact, let me show you here really quick before we get back into the main deal. I don't know if it was in the coaching forum here. If it was in the beginners, there it is right there. I got asked, how's the strategy and the experiment working so far? And I'm telling you, yeah, the other sites I check are premium, but it pays me as an editor to continue out there. But the strategy has suffered 2 weird days. It's a little bit incomplete. We had problems on Monday. We had problems on Tuesday. I think I know where those are isolated and they were outliers. Yesterday, I put things a little bit on steroids, used a 3-way average to the top 5 at each position. I'm telling people exactly what it is that I'm doing. That's how I teach. I run a lot of goofy experiments myself, win, lose, or draw, and I tell you what it is that I'm doing in an effort to broaden your knowledge and broaden your horizons. That's how I teach inside DFSArmy.com. Okay, so if you're looking for that kind of advice and you're looking for a broad sweeping brush to really shorten your growth curve, then I'm your guy. If you're looking for more experienced guys, then of course we've got coaches for those too. Guys hitting qualifiers, like I mentioned earlier. Congrats again to Bear. We've got the winners across the board for you, whether you're a beginner or intermediate or an advanced player. It's just the way we're set up. I'm questioning this 6.3 and 6.1. I want to look into, are we a little over aggressive in that category or not? And I'm wanting to use some form of a weighted average. I find a 33 here and then a 30 somewhere else and then a 29 somewhere else. I'm going to drop this guy down to 31, 32. And then I'm going to use that as my number. I'm going to change the projections inside our domination station optimizer and put these guys at a little bit more normal numbers. Or I find somebody down here at 19.7 that's a 24 and 25 somewhere else in the industry. Well, I'm bringing our numbers up to 23 or 24 in our optimizer, and then I'm going to normalize it that way. I'm using a 3 or 4 source weighted average right now that's going to put me on a little bit more of a consensus. It's going to squash the outliers high, and it's going to bring up the outliers low, and hopefully come to a little bit better agreement and use the groupthink of the industry to help guide me. It's a consensus projection that has always worked really, really well. I'm just sort of getting back to it. Point guards for value, and then we'll wrap up and ship us out of here today. Derrick Rose, Chris Paul, Chris Dunn. Now, see, I'm looking for double dips. You know, you got your high raw projection guys, these top three guys in Dunn, Paul, and Rose. They're also on the value list. Yes, I know it's a short slate, but that's a good indicator that they are in an actually a good spot and worthy of a lineup roster spot for you tonight. Now, how you mix them and match them is going to be up to you, but these are guys that are going to make that short list. Tyus Jones, and then there all of a sudden comes two drop score candidates in. I can't even pronounce Ryan's last name, not even going to try. But these five guys would make that list. And now if you need a little bit of value, you've at least got a Tyus Jones or Ryan out there to where you can use that drop score candidate on Fanduel. When I'm looking at shooting guards top value, again, Eric Gordon, here come a couple of cheapies. Okogie, Drew Holiday is a value play. He was on the list for shooting guard. All of a sudden, he's on the list for value again. We're looking to make sure that value doesn't completely drop off. We don't want necessarily Brogdon unless we get word he's been upgraded out of the Q tag. And Chris Middleton, these are guys, again, that we're going to focus on. And if we can double dip them in those top few points and top value, we're going to add a little bit of extra weight to them today and try to get as many of those guys in our lineup as we possibly can. Giannis, top value at small forward at 56 points at 11,800. It's very, very interesting. Comparing the salary between the two sites, cheaper on FanDuel than he is on DraftKings. That means he may be a little bit priced up on DraftKings based on the matchup with New Orleans tonight. Maybe we get a little Anthony Davis ping pong going back and forth. Etuan Moore for value, Robert Covington on the value list, Darius Miller, Gerald Green. Again, a lot of punt score. This also tells us that the position isn't that deep. Remember, we showed how it dropped off pretty quickly after Giannis, down into the 20s and then down into the teens. This shows that example. The lower score guys, the saving money, positional scarcity. When it's scarce, you may want to pay up for Giannis in one spot, but you're going to need some value somewhere. The contrarian play might be coming off of Giannis and Anthony Davis. Hope neither one of them break the slate, going double low here to get off of that lineup construction build that everybody else is going to gravitate towards in Giannis. That would be a contrarian build, a cash build, probably taking Giannis because of positional scarcity and just sort of eating the chalk in that one position. Power forward, Wendell Carter, Chuck Diallo again. Randy Hollis, Jefferson, Bobby Portis, and Mark Cannon again. So a pretty duplicated list outside of a name or two. Once again, at what we said was a pretty deep position. Look at Anthony Davis at 12.7 fall all the way down at 50 some odd points down to a 4.2 in the value score. Let's run over here really quick. Check his consistency numbers though, because Anthony Davis has been awfully consistent at 4x and 5x, hitting 5x half the time. Because of his salary, doesn't hit 6x very often. So there's floor there, but maybe not upside. This looks like the type of matchup based on the projections here where he's going to be testing a floor more. It might be a little harder for him to hit 5x. Now, Anthony Davis can be matchup proof and break any slate, but that's just a general assessment of the numbers and what the numbers are being dictated through this spreadsheet of statistics for you. Center spot. I guess I clicked right on the line there, got the border instead of in there to turn that square blue. Karl Anthony Towns, Clint Capella, Andrew Drummond, Jarrett Allen, Brooke Lopez. Looks pretty much the same to me. So again, the center spot's going to be focused on those top three spots. Unless, again, you're going to go GPP and go Jarrett Allen and just get contrarian, you're going to be likely focused on one of these top three spots. At the prices they're at, they're going to dictate probably Anthony Davis or Giannis if you can get both. Might be a little tough, might be something to play with a little bit later in your own builds. But there's a rough idea of what I'm doing. I'm going to cross-check that with a couple other sites. Yesterday I used Daily Fantasy Nerd and LineStar. Say what you want to say about those sites. Doesn't really matter because as I continue to run, let's say I include Roto Grinders and Labs or Fantasy Cruncher or something like that and start using those. Now, the more I spread out, the more numbers I take, the more the outliers are not going to matter. The more my consensus is going to grow stronger. Therefore, the more accurate my projections should then be. That's the idea behind this. Again, if you like this type of discussion, you want to learn how to do this kind of stuff yourself, you need to become a VIP, DFSArmy.com. I'm your buddy Chopadong. Use code CHOP, C-H-O-P. Get in here for a 10% savings. 15 minutes in and out, NBA slate, small slate broken down. You can use the same process if you've got all day to do it on the larger slates. It works the same across anything. Keep following me through the next week or two. We'll keep running this little experiment out. We'll keep trying to figure out exactly how it is that we want to hone this craft and see if the results start coming in, and then we can start teaching from that again. But I'm a transparent guy. I'll tell any one of my VIPs exactly what it is I'm doing any single time I'm doing it, and I'll tell you whether I win or lose and what I'm learning from it. That's just how I coach inside DFSArmy.com. Take care, guys. Have a great Wednesday. Hopefully you smash that big slate if you're on it. If not, you want to process a little bit of information more efficiently, come over to the smaller slate. Their tournaments aren't as big, but cash games are still viable. 100-man leagues, 20-man leagues, whatever it is you like to play, still viable. Good fun times. Take care. We'll see you guys inside DFS Army, and come back later today for Week 16 box checkers in the NFL. See you guys.